Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. I'm very, very excited for this. For his leading role in Breaking Bad alone, Bryan Cranston won the Primetime Emmy Awards for Outstanding Acting 4 times, the first 3 years consecutively. He is an esteemed screenwriter, actor, producer, and director. He is the reason that I left Turf early last night to go watch Breaking Bad. Please welcome Mr. Bryan Cranston.
Hey! Hello. Nice to see you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jonas. Thank you. We don't need this, right? That's for someone else.
No, so we've got...
I have coffee and a biscuit. Oh, lovely.
So it goes without saying, thank you for coming here today.
My pleasure.
You've held a number of roles in a load of different productions, from Malcolm in the Middle to Saving Private Ryan to Breaking Bad. I was doing a bit of research that says that at the age of 16, you actually signed up to be a law enforcement officer.
That's
and
right.
that you were rather good at it. How did you end up from one career choice to the other?
The short answer is girls.
Right. And which was more fruitful?
The longer answer is girls.
Yes.
I was 16, 17 years old, and I found an aptitude in police work, law enforcement, that I didn't even know I had. I think, truthfully, I was looking for a father figure because my father had left the family when I was 11. And my mother took it very, very hard. I didn't mean to bring the whole thing down. But there's circumstances that relate to all of you, too. I mean, if it hadn't been in your immediate family, then you know some people. And so my mother started drinking. And she started drinking a lot and was emotionally crushed. So there left a vacuum for my life. I was 12 years old and trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do? And so I didn't follow the path that I would choose now, but I was also 12, 13, 14, 15, and I was actually nicknamed Sneaky Pete because I was a sneaky kid. And left to my own devices, I found the easiest way, the easiest path that held the least resistance, least responsibility and accountability, as anyone would if they didn't have parental guidance. And then I found the discipline of police work and the methodical nature of it and the curiosity that is necessary in police work to be rather interesting. And I joined this police explorer group when I was 16, and I graduated first in my class out of 111 16-year-olds. And so I thought, oh, I guess that's my life. I'm going to be a police officer. Okay, that's what I'll do. So I went to college. My second year in college, I took an acting class, and in my first acting class, I was given a scene to read randomly with whomever you were standing next to. And I happened to be standing next to this really pretty girl who I've never met. And I got this scene, you two read this, and I'm nervous, and I'm looking, and I look down and it says, a couple is making out on a park bench. And I immediately got nervous. And I looked over, and she's really cute. She was talking to a friend of hers, and she hadn't yet looked at what she was about to do. So I started thinking, oh, I've got to make myself more attractive somehow. You know those animal shows where the birds are like trying to ruffle their feathers to go, what a great mate I would be, and stick out their chest. I was kind of trying to pose or, God. I was nervous. I was kind of looking at her, wait until she was going to read that. And when she did, she read it, she looked down, she went, and then, of course, she looked up to see who she was going to have to kiss. And she looked over and saw me, and this was her reaction. I took that as a victory. It wasn't a look of disgust. It was like, okay. And so we did this scene, and she was all over me. All over me. And I thought, well, this is going to be the easiest date I'm ever going to get. So at the break, I asked her out. And she said, I don't know. I have a boyfriend. And I feigned indifference, which is a very immature thing to do, but boys do that, you know. It's like when we get embarrassed. So when she said no, I went, oh, okay, yeah, no problem. Yeah. Please, don't worry about it. Yeah, fine. And then she leaves, and I go, oh my God. I completely misread the situation. And I thought she really liked me because she was so good at kissing me and really invested in it that I thought she really liked me. And what she was doing was acting. And that blew my mind. So two things. First of all, you're a young boy, you're in a class. If you're doing your homework right, you will kiss this girl with all conviction. And we made out for several seconds before the scene started. And so my head is spinning from that alone. And then secondly, she completely fooled me. I thought she liked me. She didn't. Not that she didn't dislike me, but she. So then I thought, oh my God, I totally believed her. Now, I don't know whatever happened to Meryl Streep, but but that's what did it. It was that 1-2 punch. I thought, my God, if I could I ever convince someone else that I was in love with them, or I really liked this, or I really hated that? If I could do that, that would be a great gift. And so that's what really.
That was the moment you decided.
Well, that was the moment that spun me.
Yeah.
And so I took off for a couple of years on a motorcycle just to get lost and try to find myself.
So you went traveling with your brother.
Yeah.
This is for 2 years around America.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's interesting you speak about acting as a way of getting girls, because I was doing a bit of research. And one of your one of your star roles in the 1980 was the lead in a hemorrhoid cream advert.
Oh, yes.
Preparation H.
That's right.
How was your career? I mean, you didn't always play the part of Heisenberg from Breaking Bad. How did you make it there? And you know, how do you enjoy the shift from being an ordinary guy to the height of visibility?
Well, they don't train anyone for how to handle celebrity. Celebrity is something that it comes to very few, and it's like a lightning bolt. There's no way you can teach someone how to behave or how to handle themselves. Fortunately, I think very fortunately for me, it happened, but it happened late for me. I didn't get Malcolm in the Middle until I was 40 years old. I didn't get Breaking Bad until I was 50. So I was already in a stable relationship with my wife and our daughter and our little house. We were living a very normal life. I was working as an actor since I was 25 years old and never looked back. I never did anything else in my life from 25 until this to make a living. And so I was perfectly happy. And I would say that to you, is that whatever field that you're in, if you can find the thing that really, truly, honestly makes you happy as opposed to something that you're just good at. And that was the credo that I ascribed to many years ago on that motorcycle trip when I decided to become an actor. I was really good at police work, but I didn't love it. What I loved was acting and the empowerment that it gave me, but I didn't know if I could become really good at it. So I was in that middle ground. And it was finally at a point when I decided I'm going to go for it. And when I did, there was no backup plan. There was no, well, I'm going to give it 2 years, like you hear some people talk. I'm going to give it 2 years, 3 years, and if I don't make it by then, I'm going to switch and go into accountant. And I'll be an accountant. And there was no backup plan for me. I was all in, to use a poker term. And if it meant that I would share a flat with 3 other actors, even to the age I am now, then that's what it means. But things shifted and changed. So if celebrity never came to me, I'd still be a very happy person because I've made my living as an actor all my life.
Do you always enjoy it, or do you ever wish that you could just walk down the road and not be recognized?
I augment that. I mitigate the attention factor by disguise.
Yeah.
You know, I wear a hat all the time, and I sometimes walk with my iPhone out. And if I sense a group that would recognize, I just start doing this. And if you look at the crown of someone's head looking at a phone, you don't pay it any mind. It's such a common thought. I'm still dealing with it. It's not completely comfortable to me.
Yeah.
Because I love to act, and there's a big difference between acting for a living and being a celebrity. There's a chasm that's as wide as the Grand Canyon on that, you know. So there's a lot of good things about it, and I would say mostly good things. For a career, you receive a higher level of writing. The material that I now get offered, which is another great thing about it, I don't really audition anymore. I filter through projects that I may want to do, and that's a great thing. The downside is, one of the things I used to love the most is being the observer. An actor's job is to observe human behavior and then be able to replicate it on stage or in film. But once the observer becomes the observed, everything's done because their behavior stops. I used to go into shopping malls with my wife as she's shopping, and I brought a newspaper, and I would sit as close to people as I could, and I would sit like this, and I'd watch them. I'd watch them behave, and I would then guess their relationship and how long they've known each other, how they're feeling about each other at this moment, and be able to go, oh, okay, oh, look at those people over there, they're arguing. I'd move over and sit down, and I'd read the paper, and I would just study them, and if they started to look over, I would just drop my eyes and read my paper. And it was fun to do, and it was my homework.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell young actors, how many actors are in here today? 2? 3, 4? That's it? Okay.
There's some up there
And
as
a
well.
couple up there?
Yeah.
5, 6? Okay. Actors and writers and directors should never be bored. There's always work to do. If you're bored, you're not working hard enough. So take that one. Yeah. You go, oh shit, I'm bored. I gotta work. But there's always something to do for you to learn your craft.
Breaking Bad actually previewed for the first time 10 years ago this week. So on the 20th of January.
Tomorrow.
20th of January 2008. And is without doubt one of the best-selling shows of recent history. When did you realize you would hit absolute stardom with that show?
I don't know.
No.
Netflix. I mean, there's a confluence of events that have to happen to have success. There's no career is ever made in the arts without a healthy dose of luck. So if you're in the arts, if you're in music or theater or painting or whatever, there is no career for you unless you get lucky. And I say that not as a depressant, but as an encouragement that luck can come to you at any time. But you got to be ready for it. You got to be working. You got to be. If someone opened the door and said, "Okay, come here, let me hear you sing," or "Come on, let me see your paintings," or "Go ahead, do the dance recital," you got to be ready. You have to be ready to do that. Or let me read your material. So it can happen at any time. You just got to keep working, and trust that luck will find its way through you through work. But if you love it, then when you meet resistance, and you will in any art form, you then have the ability to work through it, because it's a relationship that you will have with your career. It's not a short period of time. If you hear yourself saying, "I'm going to give it 2 years," stop and think about those words I said, because that's a fallacy. We're talking about the rest of your lives. We're not talking about 2 years. You know, go see the world. Go learn about things. Be lost so that you can find yourself. It's okay. There's no timeline. I think your generation has more emphasis on the need to do it quickly. Get going, get going, get going, because you live in a world where everything is now. It's now, it's now, now. Oh my God, and you feel like you're going to be behind if you don't start working immediately. Let's go. But the truth is, especially in the arts, it comes through maturation. Anyone who is an artist of any kind will know that what you're doing now is a lot different from what you did 2 or 3 years ago, because you've grown, because you've matured, because you've changed. Your tastes have changed. Your ideology has changed. So what you write about, what you think about has changed. If you go into the arts, you got to go into the arts full of love. It's your relationship for a lifetime. And if that means you will eke out a living, okay. If that means you are one of the very rare breed that gets struck by lightning and gets to be world-renowned or whatever, wow, good for you. But you're doing what you love to do. No matter what it is, I think that's the key to everything. You've got to find what you love to do and focus on that, no matter what it is.
What do you think it is above luck that makes Breaking Bad the success that it was? Because that show was incredible. That show was nominated for over 240 awards. I remember during my GCSEs, it ruined my GCSEs because I would sit there binge-watching Breaking Bad. What is it above luck that makes it so great?
Breaking Bad was very lucky as well because of the timing of the anti-hero story, the timing of the newness of it. I think what's great about your generation is that you're much more sophisticated than my generation was. Your demand for a higher level of storytelling is great. If you go back and you look at the terrible television in the 70s and 80s, it's just, it's embarrassing. All the shows that I used to do, because it's a job and you go do your job. But now you would never see that crap on television anymore. And that's great. So the bar has been risen. And if Breaking Bad was part of that, great. But we came in at the right time. There was a movement to we need something new. We need something different. Cable television was starting to blossom, and every new network was saying, if I can see it on, if we could see it on the BBC, then I don't want to see it. Give me something that I haven't seen before. And Breaking Bad was just that. Vince Gilligan is a genius. He's a brilliant writer. And when he told me what he wanted to do about changing a character from good to bad, I realized that this had never been attempted before in the history of television. There has never been, through the course of the series, the length of the series, a character change before your eyes. There have always been, stasis has always been a hallmark of television, where you depend on these characters. You come home and you see Ross and Rachel and Friends, and you go, oh, love them, and they have a new problem, but they're going to handle it. They're good. They know what to do. And no matter what your character, think back on the shows you like, and those characters are solid, and they stay the same, no matter what they're doing. And this was to completely turn that on its edge, to change this guy. The other thing that made it great, not only its uniqueness, but Netflix. Netflix changed at that moment. By our second year, Netflix almost completely changed away from sending the discs home to you. Do you remember this?
No.
Right? You'd have to wait in the post. You'd have to wait for it to come, and then it sat on the thing, as opposed to on everyone's laptop, and you just push a button. That changed the world, and it certainly changed for us. It was a confluence of those lucky breaks that happened that made Breaking Bad what it is.
So you spoke about Vince Gilligan, who's the director, and when he first pitched the show, he said it was the worst meeting he's ever had. That's with HBO. Did you have a feeling about how big it would be? Or did it look like it was heading for disaster?
No actor. Actors always get asked that question. Did you realize it was going to be a hit? No actor knows that anything they do is going to be a hit. It takes a different set of alignment of stars to have that happen. All you know is, and for the actors out there, right, is get really good at identifying well-written material. The hour-long script of Breaking Bad, the pilot episode, was brilliant, just brilliant. And I went through it just like crazy, and then started to imagining what this character was all about. Who was this Walter White? And so I wanted to be able to go into my meeting with Vince and convince him that I'm the guy, because I was just so taken with it, and I started daydreaming about and doing my work as an actor. And I came in and I told him what he should look like, how much he should weigh, what his hair should be, that he should have a little silly mustache that you can see through, that it's like either shave it or grow it. Do something. And he was invisible to himself and society. His clothes were the color of the walls, so he blended in. He was invisible, and this was all making sense to him. And we just went back and forth, and he became my champion to get the role. And without him, I wouldn't be sitting here. It would be Matthew Broderick who would be sitting here right now. So Matthew Broderick as Walter White.
That's a big question, which is, how much is Walter White you, and how much is he Vince Gilligan?
He's neither. He's in a third category.
So how do you get to play a terminally ill, meth-cooking, murderous teacher and parent?
Talent. I did do that for effect, but the truth is that, yeah, I'm talented. And I don't say that as a boast. I'm just saying, if I ask the actors here who are going to be a professional actor, are you talented? And you say no, or, ooh, I don't know. It's like, please, don't even attempt to be a professional. It's quiet confidence. But you have to have more than that. You have to have talent, you have to have perseverance, and you have to have patience. And the other thing you have to have is that luck factor in order to have a career. Now, as far as creating a character, the talent comes in as well. You have to be able to be willing and open to open up the cavity of your own experience, reach in there and say, okay, here's when I felt rage and jealousy and hubris and greed and all these things that may be ugly, and you know what else? I'm taking off all my clothes, and I'm going to be naked physically and figuratively in front of the camera. This is the courage you have to have. If it's right for that character, you have to strip yourself and expose yourself to the world in every sense of the way. And you have to be willing to do that. The third thing is imagination. The fourth thing is research. So with those four things, talent, imagination, research, and your willingness to reach into your past history and say, here it is. Well, I've been doing it for so long that to expose myself and be vulnerable is not a big thing for me, because here's why. In middle school and high school, if you attempt to do something that is out of the ordinary, you run the risk of being ridiculed and ostracized and laughed at, because that's the maturity level of those kids. Once you get past that and you get into college and your mind expands and you grow up and you become an adult, what happens when you see someone who is vulnerable and susceptible is you will put your arms around him. You will put your arms around someone who appears weaker, who appears susceptible to challenge or condemnation or something. You will. That's the wonderful thing about human beings, is that once we get past the immaturity level, we're actually really compassionate beings, and we feel for each other. We sense a vulnerability in someone, and your instinct is to almost clutch yourself because you see the character is so, oh, God, and you just want to protect him in some way. So for me to expose a vulnerability in the character is going to allow the audience to do what I call invest in the characters. The only way Walter White or Breaking Bad works on any level is if you, as an audience, invested in that character and felt for him and worried about him and concerned yourself about him. And then that's where the genius came in. Because as soon as you did, it's like swallowing the bait and you don't see the hook. As soon as you did that, Breaking Bad, Vince Gilligan had the line, and he was letting you take the line, and I like him, yeah. I know he shouldn't be cooking crystal meth, but he's doing it. Poor guy, give him a break, And just when you think that, click, and he starts reeling you in when you don't want to follow him anymore because he just did something terrible, and he just killed someone, and you go, no, I don't like him anymore. It's too bad, you're coming along. No, I don't want to. It's like, come on, and a lot of people lost their allegiance to him, and that was all part of the plan, that you would first go with him and then be, whoa, no, I don't, but it's too far. You're too far in, and your allegiance shifts from one character to another, and that's really, really good writing. And that's the key for me as an actor, is to identify really good writing. The writer is the horse. I'm on the carriage going, I swear to God, that's it. When someone said, oh my God, you were so good, I go, Vince Gilligan and his band of writers. That's the key. Because an actor working at his absolute best can raise the level of the work 1 grade. So if I get C-level material, at best, I can get it up to a B. If I'm working really hard and do everything right, I can get it to a B. That's it. If someone hands me A-level material, it's like catnip. Oh my God, this is so good. And you could just turn the dial a little, and you can you get it up to an A+, and everybody looks at you and says, man, you're good. And your big secret is like, the horse that brought me here is the one that deserves all the credit. Yeah. I'm telling you, that's what I do. I just look for really good, well-written material and follow it.
So when you talk about the vulnerability and the empathy and the relatability, do you still feel like you're Walter White?
No.
Or do you have any emotional connection to Walter White?
No.
You're just Bryan.
He's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he's dead. No, I used to have a ritual because your body doesn't always know what emotional strain you're putting it through. And there was a lot. If anybody comes to London and sees the play Network that I'm doing at the National, I go through, that's an emotional play. And then my character goes through a ride, and I don't know exactly to what extent I'm going to be wiped out at any given night. But your body doesn't know that you're acting. Your body was just going through some emotional trauma. And so it just wrecks you. At the end of a day on Breaking Bad, I would go into the hair and makeup trailer, and I'd take 2 big, wet, hot towels, and I'd wrap one over my bald head like a turban, and I'd wrap another one around my face like I was getting a professional shave, and I would just sit there and allow the heat and moisture just to draw out the grime, both physical and emotional, psychological grime that I was having to deal with all the time, and just wipe it all off, leave it, take his clothes off, and I left him at the studio. And then I'd start my Bryan ritual. On my way home, I would call my wife and talk with her. I'd get home. I may have a little piece of chicken or something, maybe a half glass of wine, and look at my work for the next day and go to bed and get up at 5:30 the next morning. Very glamorous. Yeah, you're putting in like 14, 15 hours a day.
I just want to backtrack a tiny bit and bring it back to the people you worked with on Breaking Bad.
Okay.
So you speak endlessly, or endless praise about Vince Gilligan. You've also got a bit of a bromance with Aaron Paul, don't you?
He's like he's oh my God, I love this kid.
You have matching tattoos, if I'm right?
Not matching tattoos. I have the very last day of Breaking Bad. We were smiling and laughing and crying, embracing everybody, because we were not only saying goodbye to these characters, we were saying goodbye to each other, and the family that you make. Remember that story about the girl kissing? Well, your job as an actor is to get intimate and know these people very, very well. Intimate secrets, pillow talk. So all the people that we worked with it's part of your family, and the crew as well, by extension. And there's a lot of people. There's 125 people who you deal with, as a whole. And for 6 years, we dealt with life. We're creating something, but you're also dealing with marriages and divorces and births and deaths, graduations, kids. You're watching kids go from little kids to going off to college in 6 years. It's like, wow. So you're dealing with all of that going on. It was a very impactful day. And a lot of the crew were talking about getting a tattoo. And I thought, well, we're going to have a party tonight. Why don't we have a tattoo artist at the party? And I can't tell you how many people got tattoos of Breaking Bad, and I got one. I got one on the inside of my finger, here on my right hand, that has the elemental symbols for Breaking Bad, which is bromide and barium, I think. Any science majors or chemistry people? So I don't know if you can see it. You can probably see a little thing like that. It's right on the inside. And someone said, well, why would you get it there? No one can see it. And it's like, oh, no, I can see it. It's for me. It's not something, and I'm an actor, so when I'm working, you don't see anything. So, but that's just for me. And I catch it every once in a while. I go, and it makes me smile every time I look at it, because it changed my life.
Fantastic. I'd love to carry on, but I think it's time to open up to the floor. If you do have a question, just put your hand in the air, wait for a steward in a jacket to get to you, and then just stand up and ask your question. So can we go first to the second row to the right? Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
How hopeful are you, or how hopeful should we be for a Malcolm in the Middle reunion movie?
I'm actually very hopeful. Floating that idea now. We are all encouraged that it could happen, and everybody's on board. And once again, it's reuniting family. And we would shoot it in Los Angeles, where we shot the series for 7 years. And we would invite every crew member who ever worked on the show to come be the crew on this and have this as an experience, as opposed to thinking about trying to make a commercial venture. At least that's the way I look at it. But yeah, I think it's a possibility. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Sure. Can we just go over, so third row to the left? Thanks.
Hi, is this, yeah. I have a question from my dad. We're all massive Malcolm in the Middle fans. What would Lois do if Hal turned out to be Heisenberg?
No. Is that a possibility?
I pitched an idea. I don't know if you ever saw it, but I pitched an alternate ending to Breaking Bad. I pitched an alternate ending. We actually shot it. I got together with one of our writer's assistants, and I pitched the idea to him. He wrote it, and we shot it. And it was, Walt wakes up, and he's actually got hair, and he shakes Skyler. Skyler, wake up, and turns around, and it's Jane Kasmerick as Lois. And she's going, what are you doing, Hal? You should check it out. It's quite funny. And we're talking about, I had this nightmare. I had a nightmare. I was bald, and I was making a truck, and I had a really sexy blonde wife. And she's like, dream on, It's funny. Yeah. There has been some rumor that, you've heard the rumor that Walter White is not dead. He went under the witness protection program and became Hal. But say hi to your dad. I'm glad it. Yeah. Cheers.
Just on the topic of continuations, did you ever watch Better Call Saul?
Better Call Saul?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I'm a fan.
Big fan of it.
Yeah, I've been asked to come and direct the show, and that hasn't worked out because of scheduling of shooting movies and things. But as a part of me, it doesn't want to do that because I'm a fan of the show, and then I'd have to actually do the research and know ahead of time what's going to happen, and I just kind of would like to just be a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. More questions? Can I go to the front row? So just, if it's possible, just wait for the mic.
Hi. Slightly darker note. Hollywood's been going through a difficult time, hopefully for the better recently. Are you optimistic? Do you think things are going to change, or is this kind of Me Too movement a momentary thing?
I think I'm a very optimistic person. And I with every revelation of a new person who's an abuser, I just clench my fists and go, yes, another one. And it's beyond time to have men behave properly. Why? Whether it's young women or young men, as we've seen. It's just, it's astonishing to me, the depth of depravity that we've seen. And I know these people. I know Louis C.K. I know Harvey Weinstein. I know these people. I had no idea what they were doing. But it's great. I think it's really great. We're at the precipice of some really fundamental change in our society to knock down this patriarchal power grid and really accept the true equality of that. And then also it comes with pay equality, and it's all of those things. Just knock it down, and to have just mutual respect despite a person's gender. It shouldn't enter into it. And then you have critics on the other side saying, "Oh, now you can't ask a girl out for a date anymore." And that's bullshit. Of course you can. You can say, "I would like to go out with you." And like the girl I kissed, she said, "No." And my response was, "Got it." That's how you behave. And you don't chastise, you don't then use any punitive demeanor toward that person. That's just I just don't understand it. It's as we've discovered, it's really not about sex, really. It's more about power and control. And I'm very positive. I think it's really, really good what's happening, and it's not. And I do want to say that we see most of it in my industry, but I think we see that because of the names involved with that. They're more known. But this happens in academia, this happens in business, this happens in politics, as we've seen also, both in the States and over here. It's just behavior that shouldn't be allowed anywhere. And I'm very, very optimistic about the movement and the cleansing, if I can use that word, of it, and to just have this mutual respect that we deserve.
Because that's an important point about recent allegations made. And just to ask you just one more question on that. What do you think needs to change for there to be equality in an industry that is largely dominated by looks and how people are in presentation on screen and so forth?
Well, in the arts, it's people can still have their opinions. Art is subjective. And what I like to say is that nobody's wrong in their opinion. Everybody's right. about any piece of art, whether it's music or painting or whatever, or a stage play. You're right in how you felt about it. So you still need to be able to have that freedom to be able to express yourself. But I don't see the big difficulty in being able to maintain freedom of expression and being civil and courteous and respectful at the same time. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. So.
Yeah. Just more questions from the floor. Can we go to the second row just here? Thanks. Yeah, that's you.
Hi. So
Hi.
During undergrad, I actually got in trouble with my chemistry professor because I asked him if he knew how to make meth. But my other question is, between Malcolm in the Middle and Breaking Bad, which role do you think challenged you more? Or do you think they both kind of challenged different aspects of your character?
Yeah, they're both very challenging. They were. My whole quest, whenever I take on a character, is to find the emotional core. What's at the core of that character? And for Hal, it was fear. And once I found that, his fear then was replicated in many different areas. Fear of heights, fear of failure, fear of spiders, fear of someone walking in on him. I mean, fear of failing as a father, as a husband. So it also lent itself to a lot of humor. So, and it felt very honest and real. With Walter White, it was different because I couldn't find him for a long time. I couldn't get into him. And then I realized why. Because I couldn't find his core because it was so covered over, calloused over by depression. Layer after layer after layer after layer of suppressing himself and allowing himself to be depressed. And so I did a little research on depression, and basically, from a layman's term, psych majors will be able to make this correction, but for my sake and my needs, I found that there were two general umbrella responses to depression. One was outward and one was inward. The outward depressive will blame and be angry and resentful and blame people for his or her own failings. The inward depressive will just cave and just become a shadow of themselves and maybe self-medicate and just diminish as a person. And that's more what Walter White was to me. Then it started to indicate. And I trust my instincts to, when something feels right, zip, take it in. And that felt right. And so that's what really created all the ideas about. I took the highlights out of my hair at the time. I wanted my hair to be dull. I took all the ruddiness out of my face so that there was no color there. I had that stupid mustache. I gained about 15 pounds just so that I can have love handles and be just, it's just a man who went to seed. He gave up. And I wanted to show that. And then you saw through the course of where he was becoming more empowered as Heisenberg, I lost weight, I wore better clothes, my posture changed. I used my real father's posture for the old Walter White, who was an older man, and he has rounded shoulders. And so when I became Heisenberg, if you look back, shoulders are back, I'm standing straighter, got the hat, I'm feeling empowered, pocket full of money, I can intimidate someone else. I mean, so he started feeling it and feeling more powerful. And that justified his actions for me, why he was doing what he was doing, and why it transcended what he originally said he was doing it for, to make money for his family. And then he realized, no, I like this. I'm good at it. Yeah. So, I mean, it was just, and it's ever evolving because I didn't get to Heisenberg until a few seasons, right? So I was just dealing with this for right now, and you don't know what's going to come until you need it, and then there you go. And yes, I do know how to make crystal meth.
Yeah. Can we get to the front row? Yeah, just with the people here. Yeah.
Hi, so as you mentioned, you're in network at the National Theatre at the moment, and it's without a doubt one of the best plays I've ever seen, so everybody should really go and see
Oh,
it.
you saw it? Oh,
Yeah,
cool. Thank you.
I actually saw it twice. I saw it once and then within a week queued from about 5 a.m. to see it again.
Oh, bless your heart. Thank
And
you.
partly why I wanted to see it again was because it's a play which is so dependent upon having a live audience. So I really wanted to know how similar each performance was. So I guess one of my questions is that have you noticed that there are changes dependent on the night? But secondly, what's the difference for you as an actor in these two characters, Heisenberg and Howard Beale, that you play? Both incredibly intense characters, but what would you say is the difference between about having the live audience there? Because obviously one's for film, and with theatre, the live audience makes such an impact. I was just wondering how that changes for you.
Well, to performers, I can't say it as a general statement because some actors don't do theater. I love to do it, and there is a relationship that an actor has with an audience. An audience can actually inform the actors if they're following the play, if we're communicating. There's an ebb and flow. You actually speak, and it registers, the audience processes it in milliseconds, and it comes back to you. You process, you send it back out, and you hear, or you see body language, and it's just fascinating. And you just can't get that in film. Film offers a different level of intimacy, which is also very good. Whereas in stage, you need to be able to, on a more consistent basis, hit the back row so that the person sitting in that back row on the balcony has an experience as well. So that's all done through the rehearsal process to be able to go through all that. But in film, the camera can come right into here, and you don't have to move at all. You can just feel it. And when I direct some actors and I feel them acting, which I don't want, I just say, don't try to do anything. Just think about it. Don't do anything. Just think. And it's like sometimes we get in our own way and present something that's not necessary. But it is different on stage and network from night to night because on stage is a strange thing. We have about 45 diners actually having a 5-course meal on stage while the play is going on. They are drinking a cocktail and 2 glasses of wine and a 5-course meal on stage while we're acting. So one time, I'm doing a speech, and for dessert, they serve either a cheese platter or a chocolate mousse of something, a cake, or like a custard that's in a glass bowl. And I hear this. Well, let me see if I can make the noise. I hear this. It was like, and I pause a second, and I kind of glance over, and I see this man who's on stage, and he's got his little demi-tasse spoon, and he's trying to get every little, scrape the sides, and then his wife just reached over and squeezed his arm. Anyway. So it's a little different. And my character has a relationship with the audience physically, and it's very prescient. It was written in 1975. It's based on the classic movie called Network from 1975, written by Paddy Chayefsky. A really amazing screenplay that this is the first time it's ever been presented as a theater piece. And it is very prescient because it deals with the manipulation of audiences, the packaging of news, the repackaging oh, this is not news anymore. They're just using it as a promotional vehicle for the rest of their. What am I being fed here? That's what we're talking about. Fake news. This is it, man. We're talking about that. What's real? What can you depend on? And this is dealing with all of that. And yeah, if you get a chance to see it, it would be great. Well, we're here until the end of March, but we are sold out. So the only way you can see it is to queue up. But what the hell? You're young. Come on.
So one final question. In fact, we'll take one more final question from the floor. Sure, let's go to the.
We're good. I have to be in the car at what time?
Arm is very highly stretched. Yeah, just said that's in the third row
Got
in the
about
white
15 minutes.
Thank you very much. I also saw you playing Howard Beale in London. I thought it was an absolutely terrific performance. And shortly after that, I also went to go and see The Disaster Artist, and I saw your little cameo in there, which I thought was incredible. But as I saw that as well, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, the first time I saw you anywhere was on television in Malcolm in the Middle. You were fighting a helper monkey.
That could be very dangerous, you know.
Do you ever stop to think about the way in which things have developed, how absurd it seems in some ways that that's where you started and this is where you are now?
Yes.
You know, gone from fighting a helper monkey to this.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great way to bookend it. It is. It is absurd. I don't know what the formula is. I have no idea. My wife and I look at each other after 33 years of being together, and we're like, can you believe it? When I first met her, she was an actor, and she was working more than I was. And then we, had a child, and she decided not to do this anymore. And then I took off. But so there's no formula. I don't know, but we look at it, it's very absurd. One night, we were invited to a private dinner, and we were sitting at this round table. My wife was sitting between Steve Martin and Bruce Springsteen. I was sitting next to Tom Hanks and Oprah Winfrey. And my wife and I, and there were about 5 other people at the table, and that's it, just us. And my wife was across they split up the couples, so you're sitting across from your spouse. And my wife and I, our eyes met at one point, and we both went. It's just, it is. There's an absurdity to it. And I can't answer it. It's just, okay. And what a crazy ride. What a beautiful, crazy ride. And I'll do it for as long as I can. I love what I do. So I like to create more than I recreate. My vacations are mostly either educational, to see something new that I'm interested in, or absolute relaxation. And so after this play, I'll take the entire month of April just to calm down and just relax and get my strength back, because it takes it out of you doing a play a lot, especially this one, very emotional. And then I'll do a film, I'll go on vacation, and who knows after that? Who knows what may happen? But I'm very, very lucky. That's what I do know. I'm extraordinarily lucky.
So just one final thing before sadly we have to end this event. It got to about 3 a.m. last night, and I was watching this fantastic, very powerful scene where Heisenberg, where Walter White was...
You were watching Breaking Bad last night?
Yes, it was fantastic. I was watching it again last night, where Walter White's standing in the deserts, and the camera basically pans into him, and he says, "Say my name." And I know Walter White is dead, but I was wondering, for the Cambridge Union, could we resurrect him just for a minute with your favorite quotes?
Say my name.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for
You're
coming
welcome.
today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.